Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Good afternoon. Super happy that you are here with us. It's a pitching session, as you know, pitching session about different startups, impact startups working on, you will see, different great topics like sustainability, healthcare, social. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Anthony Virapin and I lead the initiative called Microsoft Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact, which is a global initiative designed to support impact entrepreneurs. And I don't know if some of you joined our last session in the main stage where we presented what we do with our different partners to support impact entrepreneurs. But the goal here is not to talk so much about what we are doing at Microsoft with this initiative, but more to give the floor to great entrepreneurs that create concrete solutions for the common good. And that's why today we really wanted to showcase 5 really great solutions from different countries and with a global footprint. So you will see really amazing things. I'm not alone for this session. I have the pleasure to have Laura Turkington from EY, who is Director and Commercial Innovation Leader at EY. Thanks, Laura, for joining us. And Jean-Philippe Courtois, who was at Microsoft before, Executive Vice President and President of Microsoft Corporation, host of the Positive Leadership podcast. I really recommend you to listen to this podcast, and founder of Live for Good, that some of you may know. So before moving to the pitch session, I wanted to maybe ask you, Jean-Philippe, I have a mic for you. I really wanted to ask you, from your background at Microsoft, you spent 40 years at Microsoft. It's through your sponsorship that we created 3 years ago, this initiative, Microsoft Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact, but also as a founder of Live for Good. Why you think social entrepreneurship is so important, and why did you create this initiative at Microsoft?
Thank you, Anthony. So excited to be back with this community, which is so close to my heart. So just a few words. Yes, 4 years ago, we started and created this initiative for the following reasons. When you see what was going on in the world, and of course the world is still moving on as we talk every day, there's a lot of stuff happening. But I would say there's still a few big trends. One is, I think, overall, people in a workplace, and youth in particular, who want to have an impact in their life. I think you can relate to that. If you have kids, and not even kids, I think many of the CEOs here that you're going to hear from. Number 2, I think businesses, corporates, want to do more than their duty in terms of financials and economics that they need to do for their shareholders. They also want to find the way to go from CSR to maybe ESG for some of them, or CSRD for those operating in Europe, which is another big issue and challenge, but opportunity as well. And in many ways, you see governments across the world as well not being able to continue necessarily to fulfill the common good needs of societies. So because of that, I'm a true believer that entrepreneurs are the people who can actually build from scratch innovative solutions for the problems of the people and the planet. And here we go. And this is the reason why we created this community with Microsoft support to enable them to out-innovate with our cloud AI technologies, our people and partners ecosystem capacity globally, so that they can scale to truly go after climate change, after social issues, after health issues, and many more you're going to hear from those guys.
Thank you, Jean-Philippe. Laura, we are working closely together with EY and Microsoft on different activities because, first of all, we are super aligned with the mission. I think we really want to support this ecosystem. But maybe can I ask you to tell us more about your role at EY and the work you are doing to support positive impact entrepreneurs?
Sure. Thank you, Anthony, and good afternoon, everyone. Absolute pleasure to be here. I'm super excited to hear from the ventures slightly later. Just quickly from me, I think many of you may be familiar with EY, but we're a global professional services organisation. We have a workforce of over 400,000 and we operate in many countries. So through Ripples, which is the name of our global corporate responsibility programme, we really believe that our core competency are the skills and knowledge of our people and how we can apply that for good. And to that effort, we focus on supporting social innovators or impact entrepreneurs. And we recognize we have a big ambition and we can't achieve it alone. So we collaborate with the likes of Microsoft and many other multinational and private sector bodies to try and help these organizations who are bravely tackling some of the world's biggest problems scale. And how we do that is through a range of different pro bono business services, so consulting, coaching, specialist skills sessions, and some tools and resources. So I think we've, over the last 5 years, worked with over 30,000, had the privilege of. And yeah, looking forward to supporting a lot more and doing so in collaboration with Microsoft and others. So thank you for the opportunity today.
Thank you very much, Laura. And yes, you can see here some of the information we can, how to describe actually this entrepreneurship for positive impact and how we support the different entrepreneurs. So one of the things we are doing is really to help them with technology, helping them to access to cloud capabilities, to OpenAI, Azure OpenAI services as well, and how to use the generative AI for good. And we are also here to support with go-to-market opportunities, market and visibility coaching. So a lot of things on the support, but one of the important things is the connection. As Laura mentioned, with EY reports and the work we are doing, we are trying to do that as an ecosystem by working together and connect the entrepreneurs with our partners like EY, the World Economic Forum, Norsken, which is an impact VC, and many others, to really join forces to support collectively impact entrepreneurs. So the 5 entrepreneurs you will see today will tell you more about what they are doing, but we are strongly believers that it can change a lot of things for the common good again. So just to explain the rules, the guidelines for today. So we'll have 5 solutions, 5 pitches, 5 minutes each, and at the end we will have like interaction with Jean-Philippe, Laura, and myself with the different entrepreneurs. So with that, let's start the pitch, and I will ask Darren, the CEO of Material Exchange, a company created in Sweden, right? If I'm correct, yeah, at the beginning, to pitch what you are doing at Material Exchange. Darren, over to you. You have the clicker just here.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. So I'm Darren, CEO of Material Exchange. Very pleased to be here and thank you Microsoft for inviting me. So our mission is to simplify sourcing for the fashion industry. So we know that this is a very complex industry, it has a lot of moving parts, and we know because of all those moving parts there's a lot of wastage and it's not the most sustainable that it can be. So that's our focus. This is how we all see fashion. We see the very shiny, polished side. We see the retail stores, we see the advertising, but unfortunately, it typically is run on the sourcing side in a very analog, old way. So most things actually take place by email. So the way that the brands work is that they send out their requirements to their supply matrix, and then they'll receive back lots of different communication threads, and then they'll receive samples through the post. And often it will result in a suitcase of materials being brought to the office. So this is actually how the industry is held together in terms of sourcing, but it is not the most efficient. And if you think about fashion being one of the largest industries, in fact, sourcing is 1.5 trillion, it's still being held together in this way. And there are costs. There are huge labor costs. There are a lot of people employed to actually keep the pieces moving together. So we estimate around 60 billion is spent every year on labor, but also intermediaries earning fees from working between brands and suppliers, which are effectively called agents. There is also a huge sustainable impact. Fashion is very fast, so brands often don't get time to think about the materials they choose, and they make choices that are maybe not the best. They have ESG goals, they set those out, but when you have those ESG goals and they don't reach the sourcing teams, it's very difficult for those teams to act. And then this is one of the reasons as well why so many products end up on the shelf on sale, because it takes a very long time for a product to be produced in the fashion industry. And worst case scenario, there's a lot of suppliers who sit there waiting for orders that actually get cancelled during mid-production. And this actually has a cost to those factories that are typically in Asia. So our solution is Frank. So what Frank is an AI agent who works on behalf of brands in their sourcing team. He also works on behalf of the suppliers to help them sell better. He is effectively the broker of the data between the two sides, and he makes sure that the data is fully transparent and all the required information is there. And we can only do this, I will say, because of our partnership with Microsoft. So we use Azure as our cloud solution, but we're also using OpenAI as effectively the brain of Frank. And we've heavily fine-tuned that to his special capabilities. And we see this as the unlock to the industry to move this industry forward. And Frank is not an average agent. He is very specialized to sourcing. So he knows the difference between a 10 or a 12-ounce stretch denim. He knows what BCI is. He knows what FEM is. He knows all of the sustainable standards. He's there to help the sourcing process. And we believe by having a person who's effectively AI person, Frank, working on both supply and demand, then this has a chance of really changing this industry. And I'm just going to show you a little video. It's just a minute long, so you can see a little bit of how the flow works. So everything you saw there is actually real. This is not a demo. This is a fully functional product that we have out in market. We have been working with some of Europe's largest brands to shape this for the industry. We also have some significant US brands that we work with. And we know that this is not an overnight change. It takes time to get there, but we have the support of the industry, and we're really excited to help move this industry to be far more sustainable and more transparent for a future generation. So sorry, I've gone too far. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Darren. I love Frank. I love the AI beer, so it's super cool to see that. Moving to another startup with Arnaud from AssoConnect in France and Springly in the US. So one all-in-one tool for non-profits.
Thanks, Anthony. So, yeah, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Springly, AssoConnect en France. We work with 40,000 non-profits all over the world, but mainly in France, Europe, and the US. And we help non-profits in their mission. And so basically, maybe you're part of a sports club, a leisure club. Anyway, non-profits are everywhere in culture, professional non-profits, NGOs and stuff like that. And when you join a non-profit, it's for its mission. It's to accomplish things. It's because you love the mission of the non-profits. It's not for managing checks, papers, and stuff like that. But that's what you end up doing, and particularly in France, because in France you have a lot of checks. And what we do is that we simplify all these operations. So it's a software that is super easy to use, and that's an all-in-one solution, a complete software that helps you manage all your non-profit very easily, and that is thought for the non-profits. And concretely, it's a SaaS platform where you have a CRM to manage your members, donors, and stuff like that. An accounting software that creates accounting entries automatically and produces a P&L, balance sheet, all the documents that you need as a non-profit. Embedded payment capabilities to collect payments by card, SEPA, and stuff like that. And now it's very new embedded finance also with banking capabilities, the ability to issue cards and to manage payments and a bank account. I won't go over everything, but the idea is to have everything in a single place to manage non-profits as small as a sports club and as large as the largest we equip has more than 500,000 members with 1,000 entities all across France and the US. So yes, we work with all kinds of non-profits. ACBB is a multi-sport, food banks, a bit of everything. In France, Europe a bit, and the tiny country above is the US. The future, what we've always wanted to build is actually, before the AI hype, is the assistant for non-profits. Now assistant is becoming more of a common word, but the idea is that we want to automate as many things as possible with a platform that is boosted by AI. Maybe we're going to talk about that after, but and open to the world with APIs that connect with other tools like HR tools and stuff like that. And of course, yes, thanks a lot, Microsoft, for inviting us. Microsoft has been a key partner for, I'd say, 5 years, about 5 years now, a bit more. We created the company 10 years ago. And our job is to build software. I'm an engineer. I know how to build software, but I don't know much about DevOps. And having a platform as easy to use as Azure has been really instrumental in order to have simple to use infrastructure, scalable infrastructure, because we have peaks, a lot of peaks, and we scale pretty fast. And of course, a robust one that is robust not only in terms of traffic, but also for security matters and stuff like that. So thanks again. We are now embedding lots of AI features, so that's pretty exciting. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks, Anthony, and thanks everyone.
Thank you very much, Arnaud. We are moving to climate tech and Mitiga Solutions. So I'm happy to introduce Jack from Mitiga Solutions, who will present more about this Spanish startup.
My accent won't sound very Spanish, but we are based in Barcelona, 5 years old, a spin-off from the Barcelona Supercomputing Center, one of 7 in Europe. And we operate in the climate tech space, as you mentioned. Effectively a physics-based model that incorporates resilience throughout an organization's operating. So let me just pose a question. I had this conversation a couple of months ago with the Chief Data Officer for Microsoft in the UK, where he was sort of joking a little bit that in 5 to 10 years, there are going to be 2 types of organizations: AI-empowered organizations and maybe those that don't exist anymore. Right? It's controversial potentially, but we feel that there's a growing trend here that it might be the same if organizations aren't fully understanding the impact of how climate will impact not just them, but also their entire ecosystem, their value chain. So understanding that risk is key to what organizations are looking to do, and that's how we help. Just a level set on what physical climate risks incorporate. If you just look down the left side of this slide, you will understand these are severe convective storms, these are floods, wildfires, right? This is everything that you're hearing in the news today, effectively, on a daily basis. Whether that's in Valencia, whether that's in Los Angeles, whether that's in Australia just earlier this week with the flooding that occurred there. It is a very real concern, and the rate at which these events are happening is increasing over the next 10 years more than they have happened over the last 40 years. The broader impact of this, and you may have seen in the news today that January was yet again the warmest month on record. The UK is projected to be 4 degrees cooler moving forward if there are certain ecosystem collapses that take place. I don't want to go too doom and gloom on this, so I'll jump forward to how this impacts various levels of our economy, of our organizations, of our society, right? It leads to low productivity, reputational risk, retrofitting your facilities, retrofitting assets, having to redeploy or rebuild, right? There is a cost up to, in the latest study from the World Economic Forum that we've seen, up to 7% potentially of the overall capital that's there. I mean, there is a very, very major risk associated with this. Quantifying that risk is key. So this is where EarthScan comes in. EarthScan was developed by Matiga. It's a SaaS platform. We also have this in API and being able to deliver this data directly. This allows you down to an asset level anywhere in the world. We have more than 600 million assets mapped down to a physical hazard per asset globally. Through this platform, you enter in the address, you can get a climate score, you can print this out for your CSRD or TCFD reporting, or you can integrate this into your business operational workflow to better understand the risk throughout your value chain and your operations. How you can leverage this throughout the different use cases that an organization might have leads to everything from value chain, like I mentioned, to asset planning, to investment. What's the difference in a risk score on a mortgage between a 10-year mortgage and a 30-year mortgage if you're an insurance provider? The reason why Allstate and Nationwide have pulled out of states entirely in many of the US states in the US is because they can't quantify the risk appropriately. This allows organizations to better quantify the risk when they're looking at asset planning, when they're looking at asset management, or planning for new locations. Do you build a hotel that is 2 stories high or 4 stories high because of the wind risk associated at that site? High performance computing is what allows this to happen. Spin-off from the Barcelona Supercomputing Center and leveraging AI, of course, with the help of our friends Microsoft, who is an investor. We are a graduate, if you would, from the Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact program. That has led to a number of different benefits for us, but more and more what this is leading to is that go-to-market and that joint collaboration. So the building of co-pilots, the building of accelerating the downscaling of our capabilities, or working bottoms up for custom hazard maps for organizations for the most at-risk assets. That's always the case. So I'll speak instead to this story here. We worked with the Danish Red Cross. This was a couple of years ago where we developed a cat bond to map the risk that they had across vulnerable population for volcanoes. In this particular instance, what we did was we pushed that cat bond out to the market, actually. So pushed that uncovered risk out to the capital markets. It was available in the blockchain. The biggest challenge when you have a climate disaster is within a very, very short amount of time, people need help immediately. Access to funds is one of the most important things. So if you're able to quantify that risk properly and then collateralize that in the capital markets, in this particular case, it was available within a couple of hours in the blockchain should these 700,000 people need access to those funds. So this is what we are able to do, also working with the likes of UNDP, UNICEF, and a number of others. Yeah.
Thank you. Moving to health tech. Oh, no, sorry. Moving to Viscab, another startup based in France with Jérôme.
Hi, everyone. How do we decarbonize the construction industry? At Viscab, we believe the buildings need to stop contributing to climate change. And I'll try to explain how we try to make this vision a reality right now. Buildings, they are responsible for around 37% of the climate change. Building emissions are quite large, and the fact is that we need to lower it by almost 50% in the next 10 years. And the most important thing is that we have around 3 decades to make it to zero. And the challenge is that we need to do that at the same time as we're building the equivalent of New York City every month to try to catch up with the world demography. Embodied carbon, what it is. So building emissions are composed of 2 things. Operational carbon and embodied carbon. Operational carbon, pretty much everyone can grasp what it is. It's the energy that we consume in buildings. Could be for lighting, heating, watching Netflix in your sofa. And we have pretty much a lot of solutions to tackle it. Embodied carbon is less easy to tackle. Embodied carbon is locked into the materials and the choices in materials and building design that you make while you are building your buildings. And shockingly, I would say, embodied carbon is pretty much 90% of the building emission, and the thing is, it's kind of an elephant in the room. We have solutions for operational energy with renewable, but for the building materials, we're still trying to find solutions, and the first things to do is really to count. We need to be able to assess the impact of those materials very early in design, so that we can actually manage and find solutions very early in the design. So at Viscab, we are a SaaS platform trying to make carbon assessment very easy. Right now, carbon assessment in building is a very tedious task. It takes a lot of time, around 5 to 7 days to perform an assessment on a building design. So we are using automations with AI, data science with our data lake, and a lot of collaborative features to connect the different stakeholders in the industry. That goes from the real estate providers, from the architects, the engineers, and obviously the manufacturers. We have assessed 15 million square meters so far of buildings in Viscab platform. This is the equivalent of 2 million tons of CO2 that is mitigated. This is equivalent to 25,000 cars that are removed from circulation. And this is only the beginning. We have more than 180 clients, many in France so far, but we are starting our expansion, and I'll come back to that. We aim at building the fastest, the most collaborative platform to assess carbon. That means assessing the whole life cycle of a building, every types of buildings, and its stakeholders in the building process design and constructions. It needs to be fast, it needs to be reliable, and to do that, we focus on 3 core actions. The first one is collect. So why collect? The building design is made of a lot of documents. We have a lot of data. It's really unstructured. We could have 2D drawings, 3D models, BIM platforms. We also have PDF documents, invoices, Excel files that describe the building materials. On the other hand, we have manufacturers that provide carbon data. It could be in very different format. We are trying to uniformize that format and make it accessible. It's also scattered in multiple databases around the world, and we try to make it accessible to everybody in a very, very simple way. And the Activate is really for using AI to try to simplify that data, make it accessible, match it to construction product, and make sure we can actually perform calculations that are quite complex as well in order to report at corporate levels. Reporting that is very important for CSRD, that was mentioned. And this is not the last slide, but that's fine. And so we built this Viscab platform on Azure. So Microsoft is central to our deployment. We have a large data structure that is on Databricks, and we use the Azure platform to power our API. The whole platform is built on API so that we can consume it in our own product, but also make it available in different workflows in our clients. This is how we design different things. That's nice, the video is working. So we have very simple tools in Excel files. We can access carbon data very easily and match it automatically with different product descriptions. This is a very simple tool that is used by architects, contractors, on-site. Excel, everybody has Excel. And you can assess or have a first assessment of your carbon, of your building product. Then we have obviously more detailed carbon calculation made on early design. So with integration with different technologies that allow 3D modeling of buildings very easily, but also very detailed LCA from any type of 2D drawing, 3D models. And then we aggregate all that data and make it available at corporate level, and this is one of the big differences in Viscab. We are making a point at serving the corporations in assessing the whole building stock and trying to have a vision at 3-5 years in what are the carbon impact of their production of buildings. And we are here today because we are accelerating our European expansion. We raised 10 million last year. France is regulated on carbon, and it's very important right now because in 2 years there will be regulation in building in all Europe. It's supposed to kick in 2028. We are aiming to automate that process at the maximum because we need mass market adoption. We have a strong ecosystem of partners and running a 2 years R&D program to achieve that automation and that level of mass market adoption. We're looking for partners trying to achieve the same goal, mitigate around 40 million tons of CO2 by 2030, and trying to make sure the data is used the proper way. So if you have building stock data information, if you want to share that aim at changing the construction industry, you can join us. We welcome you warmly. And we have a lot of projects with AI to perform a better life cycle assessment of buildings.
Okay, so when we started the company, we thought about how can we make that every hospital in the world could have the best diagnostic capabilities as the best hospital, so that every patient, no matter the hospital they went, they could have access to the right treatment. And we decided to focus in stroke, because in stroke, time is brain. Every minute until you get the treatment increases the risk of disability and death. Now, which are the most important treatments? Well, so you have the endovascular treatment that consists in removing the clot from the brain. This is done in a major hospital. And then you have the thrombolysis, which is a drug that breaks down the clot. Now, the problem is that many patients don't have access to this treatment. And let's look at the workflow to understand one of the reasons because that happens. Well, when a patient arrives to a hospital, the first thing that they get is a neurological exploration and a basic CT scan. And look at the image of what is the CT scan. It's quite blurry. It's very difficult to see if there is a clot. So what they do is they inject contrast. They do the CT scan again, and what they see is this. Where it doesn't flow is because there is a clot. And most advanced hospitals are able to do perfusion imaging, which is this, that shows the area of the brain that is damaged. Based on that, they decide to transfer the patient and have the treatment. Now, the problem is that half of the hospitals worldwide don't have access to contrast medical imaging, and even if they had it, they could reduce time to treatment. So what we've built is an AI that is capable to assess a stroke treatment from a basic CT scan, increasing the number of treatments and improving patients' outcomes. If we only increased 20% the current number of treatments, of stroke treatments, we can save thousands of lives and disabilities. But not only that, we will have a huge impact in healthcare systems and families. This would also generate additional revenues for US hospitals for providing these treatments, and also is an incentive for medical device and pharma companies to sell their products. Now let's look about how our AI is unique. We are the only company in the world that has obtained the CE mark to detect what are called large vessel occlusions, so clots with non-contrast, both hyperdense and non-hyperdense clots, those that you can see and not. We can also detect intracranial hemorrhages and also clots with contrast imaging. But let me explain you what does a radiologist see actually and why it's so difficult. A normal radiologist can see 32% of all the clots. Now, an expert radiologist can actually see a 45%. Some of our competitors in the US have proven to see 68% of the clots. Well, our CE mark product that is ready for commercialization can find 81% of the clots, which is equivalent to what can be done with contrast imaging. All of these with several levels of false positives. Now, we've validated these with more than 8,000 patients from around the world and published the results in peer-reviewed journals and international conferences. But here comes a very important point. How do you deliver this result, this diagnostic? Well, our competitors have proven that they've developed their own communication system that allows to coordinate the hospitals so that they receive the alert. But they only managed to get to 1,500 hospitals. If we want to change the world, we want to reach 100,000 hospitals. Now, how can you do that? Well, why don't we use Teams? Every single hospital in the world can easily have access to Teams. Now, the problem is that it's not prepared to manage stroke care. So what we've done is we've collaborated with Microsoft to embed our technology in Microsoft Teams. So here you see an example of how we've integrated a CT scan viewer within Microsoft Teams so that now physicians can coordinate care and see the image in their mobile phones. And on top of that, we've even added some features that improves the way they can coordinate care. Now, this is also a strategic positioning for Microsoft. So they recently invested in Nuance, that is a company that allows to share imaging within hospitals, and they're partnering with Epic to integrate it with the medical records. Our technology is the piece of the puzzle that will allow to streamline all this information, because we want to make it easy and we want to make it at scale. Let me show you an example. Catalonia is one of the most advanced regions in terms of stroke care. And this is an example of a patient that arrived at a community hospital with a stroke. Now, apparently, they didn't realize it was a stroke at the moment. They thought it could be a suspected stroke, but they weren't sure to provide thrombolysis or not. When the CT scan was done, Methinks sent an alert to the physicians, alerting of a suspected stroke, and they provided thrombolysis. Now, they still wanted to corroborate the fact that there was a clot, so they did contrast imaging, and again, Methinks found that there was a clot. The fact that we alerted sooner, and no matter who is there, they can see the alert, this accelerates the treatment, and this patient could go home walking. So what's the future? Well, partnering is fundamental. In which way Microsoft help us? Well, it helps us on product development, integrating and building this platform. It helps us in sales. We're available in the marketplace, and we have some support, and also in dissemination of making awareness of the technology. And what's in it for Microsoft? Microsoft is the collaboration allows them to increase the usage of Copilot, increase the usage of Teams, increase the consumption of Azure. So it's a win-win for both parts. What about the product? How can the product actually evolve? Well, imagine that everything you recorded in the coordination of the hospitals was automatically transcribed, and this could be integrated into the medical records. This would save a huge amount of time and the burnout for the physicians that are struggling in all this process. What if also you could monitor where the ambulances are around when they transfer the patient so that they can optimize the resources of the hospital? Finally, in terms of product, what we're working is in assessing how damage is the brain. First, by detecting the clot, we'll identify patients that will be within window so that they can receive the treatment. But now we're doing some studies that will show that our technology will be able to assess if patients can benefit from this technology. To sum up, we're really grateful to all the investors and all the people that support us in doing this process. At the end of the day, what we want is that any patient, no matter the hospital they go, they have access to the right treatment. Thank you very much.
We are at the end of this session, and I wanted to thank first all the speakers for the great presentations. Nice job and really amazing solutions. We are super proud at Microsoft to work with you all and looking forward to the next steps. Thank you also, Laura and Jean-Philippe, for the participation and for joining us today for the solutions. You have here some call to actions, I would say, or links, and do not hesitate to reach out to us at Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact, because we have a lot of other great solutions in this program. We are supporting more than 2,000 entrepreneurs around the world on the different sustainable development goals. So on climate tech, healthcare, education, peace and justice, etc. We have a lot that we can share with you. We also have a LinkedIn showcase page, and you can see a lot of stories from these guys today who presented, but also we are trying to do that every week. You have new stories on this page, so do not hesitate to follow the LinkedIn Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact. And you will see, maybe you already received that, but you will see at the exit flyer of what we call the Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact Corporate Community, which is a new community we created to help our partners, our customers and corporates to innovate with positive impact startups. So it's an opportunity for you to receive more news and videos and a lot of things from us and from our portfolio. So yeah, do not hesitate and please reach out. Thank you very much.